Now let's talk about the Boston Celtics for a second. Think about this. This is the second year in a row when the Boston Celtics lost to a team that they were better than. Let that sink in for a second. This is the second year in a row that the Boston Celtics have lost to a team that they're better than. This is also the second year in a row that the Boston Celtics have been blown out in their final game of the season. Now, yes, one came in the NBA Finals, which is last year against the Golden State Warriors. And one happened in the Eastern Conference Finals this year against the Miami Heat. The second year in a row that the Boston Celtics have lost to a team that A, they're better than, and B, they got blown out. Joe Mazzulla has been a huge topic when we talk about the Boston Celtics and their struggles that they've seen this postseason. I mean, you're forced to a six games against the Atlanta Hawks. Mind you, the Boston Celtics are the better team. You're down 3-2 to the Philadelphia 76ers. And then now you ultimately lose in the Eastern Conference Finals and in Game 7 against the Miami Heat. All teams, by the way, that you are better than, or at least that you were better than in the regular season. Again, a lot of talk has been behind Joe Mazzulla, right? A lot of talk has been Joe Mazzulla's not ready. Joe Mazzulla's not a good coach. Joe Mazzulla's this. Joe Mazzulla's that. The reason why the Boston Celtics are struggling is because of Joe Mazzulla. Here's where I will give blame. Here is the blame that I'm going to give Joe Mazzulla. First and foremost, Joe Mazzulla should never have been put in the position to get this job, at least right now. We know what happened to Ime Udoka. The number one assistant, I forgot his name, but the number one assistant that usually was pretty much in line to get the job went on the Lakers coaching staff. So it pretty much just fell on Joe Mazzulla's lap. Like, all right, we're going to do this. And I think it's funny when we talk about the people that are blaming Joe Mazzulla for this, right? And I think Joe Mazzulla finished like second or third in Coach of the Year voting. I said that the playoffs, where coaches are important in the playoffs, is getting your team ready to play. Whether that's having all the information that they need and putting them in the best positions to execute a game plan that can win you the game. That is where I will put blame on Joe Mazzulla. I feel that in the playoffs, especially the late game situation, I've talked about it on this podcast multiple times. I hate the Boston Celtics late game situations. Their late game plays, it just, they look so clunky. It's bad. And where we are seeing the effects of Ime Udoka not being there is, of course, on the defensive side of the ball. Last year, the Boston Celtics were one of the best defense, statistically, one of the best defenses we've ever seen. This year, they were good. They were good, but they were nowhere close to what they were last year. And one of the biggest reasons why I brought up the fact that this is the second year in a row that the Boston Celtics have lost when they are the better team is because One, it's not on Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla, while yes, he can improve, and I think that he's going to get better with time. I mean, he's still, I think, the youngest coach in the NBA. And I think Al Horford is older than him, now I think about it. So it's going to take time, but I was trying to emphasize the fact of this happened under Ime Udoka's watch, and this happened under Joe Mazzulla's watch. So it's not just the coach. But what is the common denominator in both teams? You know, the team last year and the team this year. It's the stars. You see, I told you guys, stars have to be stars, especially in the playoffs, especially as the closer you get to the NBA finals, that's where stars have to pick it up. The reason why we're hearing a lot of this, a reason why there's so much confusion is because, how do I put this into perspective? How do I put this into words? Of course, it doesn't all go on the shoulders of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. It's a team sport. You know, you need contributions from everyone. But in a series, you have 7 games to prove who you are. And we've seen Jason Tatum at his best. I mean, we just saw Jason Tatum last series, or in the Eastern Conference semifinals, drop 51 points in a Game 7. There's been multiple times we've seen Jaylen Brown have 40 plus point games. But when your stars are needed, they need to show up or they're going to lose. That's just plain and simple. In the regular season, habits are made. I talk about that all the time, which is why I'm one of the proponents. Like, I am very big on the regular season being important, especially for playoff teams, because you build habits. Remember the 2016? Yeah, I think 2016. 2018. Yeah, remember the 2018 or 17, one of the two, Houston Rockets, James Harden, Chris Paul, Clint Capella, PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza was on that team. Gerald Green was on the team. Mike D'Antoni was the coach. They were the definition of either you're getting a three-pointer or you're getting a layup. There's no in between. We don't care about no mid-range shots. We care about either you're getting your shots from the three-point line or the paint. And remember, that team was up 3-2 against the Golden State Warriors. The same Golden State Warriors that had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Kevin Durant, Draymond Green. It got forced to a Game 7. And the Miami Heat, I think, proceeded to miss 27 straight three-pointers. Now, the casual fan would ask yourself, and not the people would ask yourself, why, if you're not making it, why keep shooting it? That's the logical question, right? But again, it's about habits. They build habits. The team, right, is built on hitting threes and getting layups. And if, we're going to live and die by the three. Fast forward to this Boston Celtics team. They lived and died on the three. And Charles Barkley he said it a little more aggressively, but I understand what he was saying. The Boston Celtics all year, of course, lived and died by the three, and they lived and died on making tough shots. If you looked at the Boston Celtics, they didn't run a lot of clean sets. They didn't run, and that's not just on the coaching. That's on when you have superior athletes, when you have a superior talent like Jason Tatum, or superior scoring like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, you can do that. But that's only going to get you so far. And as you saw in Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals, I think they went 0 for 11 their first 11 threes. At that point, you're down 15, 16 points because you don't stop shooting. Just keep going. I think changes are going to be made, especially when we talk about the new CBA and how that's going to be extremely penalizing to teams that try to keep cores and try to give everyone max deals. I think changes are going to be made, and I think now is when you're going to see the breakup of the big two, which is, of course, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. People have been calling on it for years, right? But there has been success attached to Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And don't get me wrong, I understand, they were just in the Eastern Conference Finals last year. They were in the NBA Finals, so I get it. Oh, the year before, they've been good. But I feel like there's a ceiling. There's a ceiling there's a ceiling with those two. And I don't think that ceiling is NBA champion. Especially when your second best player, Jaylen Brown, isn't good at handling the ball. I mean, Game 7, he had 8 turnovers. And a lot of them were just him not being able to dribble the ball or handle the ball. Jason Tatum, a lot of people are going to say they probably would have won if he didn't twist his ankle the first play. I don't know. But there have been multiple times in this series where, there was a running. I think Jason Tatum didn't score in the fourth quarter. I think the first 3 games of the Eastern Conference Finals. The fourth quarter, the money quarter, is what people like to say. Jason Tatum didn't score. I think changes are going to be made. And I think changes have to be made. You see the free agents that they have, and you see some of their older players and contract discussions coming up. I think changes have to be made. I think you probably are going to see the big, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, different teams, but you may not. Because we're hearing reports on contract extensions are already being discussed. Okay. I wouldn't be upset if they did it. I would understand completely. But again, I kind of feel like we've seen the ceiling for this duo. I think that is good. They're good enough to make it to an NBA Finals, but I just don't know when you can't rely on tough shot making in a series, especially when you get closer to the NBA Finals, because the teams that you're playing are better. So you're not going to be able to rely on tough fadeaways or tough step back 3-pointers. While yes, you can make them, but in an entire series, that's not going to fall. And this is also another reason why I think that there's changes are gonna come is because the Boston Celtics got help. Or let me say this. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they received help. Marcus Smart had a couple of good games. Grant Williams had a couple of good games. Not Grant Williams. Hold up. I forgot Cuz's name that fast. I apologize, people. I am going to look up Cuz's name. And Derek White. I apologize, Derek White. Slipped my mind. But you had good games from Derek White. Derek White's the one that hit the game winner in Game 6. So you got the contributions that you needed. It was just the stars didn't come to play. And you can't say that the Miami Stars were better than the Boston Celtics Stars because there was multiple games since games 4, 5, and 6. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo were a no-show. In Game 7, Bam was still a no-show. Jimmy Butler was okay. It was Caleb Martin that pretty much kept them afloat, even though they did lose Game 4, 5, and 6. Which I also think is probably one of the biggest reasons why Caleb Martin didn't win the Eastern Conference Finals MVP, is because while he did have a good series, most of the games that he was really good in, they lost, except for Game 7. So, I don't know. But I do think that there are going to be major changes that need to happen. Not major, but there are going to be changes that need to happen for the Boston Celtics because you can't run it back. Because what are you running back? Again, you can blame it on the coach, right? But the coach that was better than him made it to the NBA Finals and lost. This year, you make it to the Eastern Conference Finals and you lose to an 8th seed. Now, yes, I will give them credit for winning 14 in Game 7, but that's where the credit stops because you still lost. The record is what 0-151. Oh, man, you stayed to the end of the video. I appreciate you. If you like what you saw, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss any content from your boy. You can also go back and watch past episodes, past clips, and don't forget that the Unpopular Podcast, new episodes drop every Wednesday and Saturday. Appreciate you.